Does a Spanish teacher have to be fluent in Spanish to teach Spanish? If you want to be a good Spanish teacher, yeah. Short answer, yes. The long answer is a little bit more nuanced, so let me explain. All right, so first off, you should know that states get to decide who teaches in that state or not. There are literally 50 different processes for becoming a teacher. Yay! Now, some of these states work together and they, will accept licenses from other states, and that process is a little bit smoothed over. But just know that while the process is similar between states, it's not the exact same. So now that that's been said, I just wanted to share that every state that I'm licensed in, I have had to take a test to prove my Spanish abilities. There is a baseline that you need to say, hey, I can do this, and you have to score this level on the test, or you can't teach. You can't get your license. So in Minnesota, there are the MTLEs, and their requirements look like this. North Dakota has reciprocity with Minnesota. So it was really easy for me to just say, here's my Minnesota license. Here is my credit hours for the additional requirement. And they gave me a North Dakota license. So they accepted that my testing in Minnesota showed my Spanish abilities. In Illinois, there is the ILTS test. And again, same thing. It's multiple choice, culture, grammar, and then there's some output as well. And again, this will look differently in every single state. But as I was kind of scrolling through, as I was researching for this video, the concept of take a test in your content area to show that you're proficient in said content area prior to teaching is a pretty common theme. Now we can talk about, does the test really prove fluency or not? I think that could probably be its own separate video when we're talking about testing and equity and accessibility and all sorts of different things that go into just testing in general. But for now, right, without all those other concerns, in order to teach Spanish in most, if not all, I didn't go through all 50 and check, you need to prove your competency in your content area, in this case, Spanish. Another thing to consider, because more and more states are adding these options, are traditional teacher licensure routes versus those alternate options for people who maybe didn't go to a teacher prep program or didn't graduate with a degree in education, but are now looking to either career swap, or maybe they're from another country and they have a degree there, and right, making that process more accessible has been a focus of a lot of different states. So when I was looking at that process just for North Dakota, because that's where I am right now, it was pretty straightforward. So in North Dakota, you just need a bachelor's degree in the content area you're going to teach, or at least 30 credit hours in that subject. Something that alternative measure did not talk about is proficiency and measuring the teacher's proficiency. So what I'm not sure about is if somebody is a heritage speaker who just already speaks Spanish and they don't have a degree in Spanish, but they are bilingual or multilingual, then what? How does the state assess that proficiency level without the degree? Because they're saying, oh, if you're a content area expert, then you can teach this through this alternative route, but they don't talk about other ways to measure that expertise. So not sure what that would look like. And again, alternative routes vary throughout the states widely. Another really important thing to consider about this is you're thinking, okay, does a Spanish teacher have to be fluent in Spanish to teach Spanish? Is when we're talking about delivering comprehensible input to our students. And I have talked a lot about comprehensible input, so I'm not going to, deep dive into that today. But the important thing here is that in order to deliver comprehensible input to your students, you need to be able to output for them to receive the input. And yes, of course, we can use other materials, other resources, other things to provide input for our students. You don't have to be the sole source of input. And again, I've talked about that in other ways. But the teacher just is a large source of input. And if that teacher can't provide the input for students, then you're stuck with trying to find online programs that work for your students, or trying to source authentic resources that would work for your students. And then you're into this problem of like, well, if the teacher doesn't speak Spanish, how do you use the authentic resources? Or how are you using these other things as a teaching tool? And then we, run into all sorts of pedagogy problems. So, like I said, short answer, yes. Long answer is a little bit more nuanced, but I'm going to go with yes, because one, you can't be a teacher without proving that you speak Spanish. And two, you can't be a good teacher if you can't provide that input for your students. You probably could have guessed my answer on this, because my videos on how to be a better Spanish teacher, the first part of it is talking about how to improve your Spanish. Of course, there's, being a good teacher, but being good at Spanish is, in my opinion, a prereq to being a good Spanish teacher. Hey, if you need help improving your Spanish, if you were watching this video and being like, oh, I hope she says no. Well, here, This is my video on how to improve your Spanish. I hope it helps. See you later.